Representative Dean, again from Minnesota. So as I'm sitting here and I'm hearing that, it freaks me out, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it does exactly the same thing if you take out the clause that says never delegate it to Congress. We don't have to tell Congress that they don't have that power. What we're doing is we're saying this is our responsibility, and ultimately I think it's redundant. What we're doing here today is we're sitting forward a document, and the question is, what do we want that document to say? How do you want it to be perceived? And when I mean perceived, I mean across the country. This is like this first resolution we're passing here today. And ultimately, this is going to be dissected in ways that we right now can't even consider. So I think if we stress what is our authority, it does the same thing as saying Congress has no business doing that. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Representative, any further discussion on the motion? Representative Townsend from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Although never one to back away from stating what's true, I have to agree to some extent with the gentleman from Minnesota. But instead of saying never, perhaps we could say not. And it's not as adversarial, it's not as, like we're picking a fight, but it's still stating that this is not delegated to them. So I just propose that we switch that to not, and you look like you're in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Discussion on the motion. Is there any objection to the motion?
No, she didn't.
There's a motion to amend. And is there any objection to the motion to amend?
The amendment is to strike.
Yes. Go ahead.
As I understand the amendment, it would be being a power reserved to the states, simply that part of it, and deleting the first part? Is that?
Changing never to not.
Oh, being a power not delegated to Congress but reserved to the states?
Yes.
Oh, I'm fine with that. I'm
All
fine
right.
with that.
We're going to withdraw the previous motion and previous second, and if the representative, you would stay and restate the motion. Representative? Go ahead. Let's completely restate the motion so everyone understands it.
So as I understand the, as amended, it would be being a power not delegated to Congress but reserved to the states.
That is your motion then?
Fair enough.
Right.
Yes.
And is there a second? Second. From Arkansas, because he wants to get in the minutes. Right. All right. Is there any discussion on that motion? Go ahead.
I believe it would be better grammatically if we move the new language to the end of the sentence, and we just make that recommendation.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Discussion on this motion, Representative? Okay, go ahead.
Representative Jerry Hurtas, Minnesota. Would it not be better to refer to the power not enumerated under the 10th Amendment to be succinctly clear? No? All right, thank you.
No, but you can get it from him. All right, any further discussion on the motion currently on the floor? Is there any objection to the amendment? With no objection to the amendment will become part of the resolution. Is there any other discussion on the amended resolution? Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike Hill from Florida, representative from Florida. I would offer that we make this amendment, a motion to make this amendment. It's in section 4, second line, that we remove the word bipartisan. I understand our gentleman's intent to want to make sure that we have all participating, but I believe that that should be left up to the states and ultimately to the people who elected them. The power belongs to the people, and we should not give the impression that we are dictating how this should be made up, but it should be made up by the people.
Motion to second is to delete the word bipartisan in the second line of section 4 in the amended resolution. That's on the floor. To remove the word bipartisan, the hyphenated word bipartisan. Senator from Missouri, Senator Holm.
We already have a difficult job getting blue states to join us. Do not make it more difficult, please. Vote no on this amendment.
No,
Again, Bruce Williamson, state of Georgia. I would like to just point out for clarification that it just simply says requesting a bipartisan. So this is not mandating a bipartisan contingent. So I believe our objective on both fronts would be, we all know that we need a diverse group to come together in agreement on any proposed convention, and I believe the language is currently in here does that. It still reserves all the power to the state. We're just simply suggesting that it be a bipartisan delegation. Thank you.
thank you. Representative Patman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The difficulty in this is that as the Constitution is a living document, that we adjusting it are living in a different era. When the first convention was called, I don't believe there were red states and blue states. But that's where we live now. And in order to make this as inclusive as possible, which will make it effective, there are things that red and blue makes purple we agree on, like Congress being out of control. I would not like to see this momentum stopped because we decided to further irritate some folks who are out there and that are not here. I came on behalf of people, and if it takes red and blue to get to royal purple, so be it. So I would say leave it in. Thank you.
Okay. Representative from Florida, and then Senator Long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Caldwell from Florida. While I respect the pure motive, I am certain of my colleagues' motion. I would have to agree with the previous two speakers and request that we turn down this motion and retain the language as presented.
Senator Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Assembly. And I appreciate I have no doubt it was not intended to be a partisan move, but just to take the language out is deeming it unnecessary. But I do think that the perception of not putting that in there, particularly having had it in, sends a message that for those members from the blue states who are struggling to get attendance here would find hard to explain. And I think for that reason, and because I think all of us feel, I assume all of us feel that it's going to take a bipartisan effort to get this done, to get to 34 states, I would encourage all of us to vote no on this, keep the language in, and let's keep the spirit of this cooperative effort moving forward.
Any further discussion on the motion? Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I withdraw the motion.
Is the second withdrawn? Thank you. Is the second withdrawn also? All right. The question on the floor is the amended resolution set forth before you with the two amendments. Is there any discussion on the amended resolution? Any further discussion? All in favor of the amended resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Representative Bands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members.
Thank you.
What's that?
Yes, Representative Ullery.
Will the executive committee be issuing a press release regarding this? Will the executive committee make this resolution available by email for all members here present?
The question from Representative Ullery from New Hampshire was, will a press release be issued by the executive committee? The communications co-chair is over there is pointing fingers in either direction. And will it be made, the resolution itself be made available to all delegates and attendees here today? Those two questions. The answer is yes to both of those questions. And it will also be posted on the website, which is the Assembly of State Legislatures the Assembly of State Legislatures.org. And yes, we have purchased that domain name, as well as several other similar ones. So thank you very much. We will conclude in a moment with remarks from one of our two executive committee co-chairs, that would be Representative Kappinga. Before we do that, I just want to make a few remarks. First, in my call yesterday, I asked for folks to step forward and volunteer or let us know if they're available to co-chair subcommittees or do a variety of other tasks. I want to thank in particular Representative Townsend and Senator from Arizona and Senator Hagedorn from Idaho, who they didn't say they had a lot of time on their hands, but said they would really like to help. And if there are others, as we go through this, Chairman Kappinga's office in Wisconsin has been doing the lion's share of this work, so you should continue to communicate for now through his office for things that you may willing to be willing to serve on. Did the representative want to make a remark? Come forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Neil Cumbie from Florida. Listening, and it won't take a minute, but listening to some of the comments that were made, I wanted to wait until after the resolution, but my comments were similar to that. I wanted to make similar to things that the gentleman from New Hampshire said, Representative Metz from Florida, Senator Hayes from Florida. But, you know, they bring me along. There was an old story about Napoleon, I think, that when he went to write a message, he would hand it to one of his lieutenants, and he'd have an imbecile outside the door, and he'd hand it to him and ask him to read it. And if the guy could understand it, then he'd go ahead and send a message. Well, I'm the guy for the Florida delegation. If I can read it and understand it, then we're good to go with it. And I bring that point up because a lot of people have talked about the need to bring in the other 17 states or the other 28 states and involve them in the process, and I think that's huge. It's not essential that we have all 50, but I think it'd be great if we could. The point is that somebody has to put their selling shoes on. And I think that Senator Hayes' idea that you pick up the phone and you call, that's wonderful. But I think we have to explain this to people who may have failed to see the communications that have come in. Some may just be reluctant to participate and have no interest, and it may be certainly intentional on their part. But I think that, and I don't know how to go about it, I don't have any good suggestions other than I understand that somebody has got to go sell this to the other states that aren't engaged and aren't participating up to this point. And I'm assuming that the executive committee has plans to do that, and that is really my question here. Is there plans? Is there something that we will see or anything we can do to help other than calling folks, those that may know someone, and I'm not one of those.
Yeah, those are excellent remarks and excellent comments, something that we've been working on. Heretofore, I think Chairman Kappinga had assigned that to Senator Long and I, and we've done the best that we could. And frankly, I am proud of the work that we've done in terms of getting as many states represented as we have, but we are far, far short of where we should be. That will happen this summer. That effort will continue through what we do in December and beyond. This is, the first 22 may be easy. The next 10, a little bit harder. The next 10, a lot harder. The last 8 may never happen. We don't know that. So there's going to be an effort, and we would like, that's why I'd like for you to talk to your legislative leaders. They get together for conferences, speakers do, and the presidents of the Senate do, and I think that's the best way to make this happen. So, and any other suggestions that anyone may have.